My name is Claire Bennett, and for years my life unfolded like a silent film, motion without emotion, presence without connection in a charming abode. Just beyond Portland, we find ourselves surrounded by perfect symmetry, meticulously trimmed hedges, a reliable espresso machine, and unchanging routines that weave the fabric of our daily lives. Every morning, Michael, my husband, dashes through the kitchen in his sharp suit, juggling emails on his phone with one hand while savoring his coffee with the other. He kisses my cheek as if on instinct, a motion executed without emotion. Michael is a good man, dependable and loyal, generous in ways that manifest through mortgage payments and oil changes. Yet as time passed, he transformed from a partner into a mere presence. We exchanged words about the dishwasher's leak and the neighbor's shiny new car. Yet we never ventured into the realm of our own story. We shared a bed, yet our lives unfolded in separate realms. I once believed this was simply what marriage entailed, that this was the essence of being in a long-term partnership. You exchange fervor for tranquility, closeness for security. I told myself I was fortunate. Yet hidden beneath that appreciation was a subtle pain, a desire to be acknowledged, to be truly understood. And then Scout arrived on the scene. Scout was meant to be a guardian. We found him following the break-in at Michael's office. A sudden choice driven by trepidation, a vigilant and powerful fighter raised for protection, yet Scout lacked ferocity. He exuded a serene presence, observant and deeply reflective. He only let out a bark when it truly mattered. He remained silent. He existed in that moment, a presence woven into the fabric of the scene. Once upon a time, he found himself drawn to Michael in the golden light of evening. The yard would come alive as they played fetch with Scout perched by the door, tail wagging in anticipation, ready for the joyful reunion that awaited him each day. I was perfectly fine with it. He was merely a dog, an additional presence in our home. Another being I prepared meals for, tidied up after, and conversed with more than I understood. Yet that autumn, a shift occurred. It was a morning like any other, seamlessly blending into the tapestry of countless similar days. Michael had already departed. The coffee had turned cold, and I found myself in the kitchen, gazing out at the golden leaves dancing across our lawn. Scout lingered at the threshold, motionless, like a statue, observing me intently. In that fleeting moment, a connection sparked between us. He remained still, his tail unmoving. He remained utterly still. He gazed at me as if searching for a truth I had yet to confront within myself. In that moment, he approached silently, leaning his head gently against my thigh. I stood still, caught in the moment, not due to surprise, but because that gesture broke something deep within me. Or perhaps it wove a narrative anew. Initially, I held back from giving him a gentle touch. I remained silent. I found myself rooted in place, enveloped by the heaviness of his presence, the comforting warmth it brought. From that day onward, Scout was always by my side. He trailed behind me from one room to another, settled at my feet as I folded laundry, and lingered outside the bathroom door. In moments of quiet sorrow when tears fell softly behind closed doors, he stood by, providing nothing but a comforting silence. And that was all it took. Our walks transformed into cherished traditions. At first, I guided him out of obligation. Yet before long, those instances transformed into the sole fragments of my day that felt authentically my own. No phone, no expectations, just the rhythm of our steps, the wind in the trees, and the comforting presence of a companion walking alongside me, not ahead or behind. But right there with me, I started sharing my thoughts with him. Initially, it seemed utterly ridiculous. Who confides in a dog about their relationship struggles? What about their solitude? Their longing for connection? Not merely routine, but driven by desire. Yet he paid attention, and that changed everything. One afternoon, after a serene stroll through the park, I came back home to discover Michael in his familiar place. Lounging on the couch, absorbed in his phone, I greeted, saying hello. He gave a slight nod, as if acknowledging an unspoken tale. And so it was. I settled next to him, sensing the vast expanse between us, as if it were a boundless sea. Scout settled down comfortably at my feet. I rested my hand on his head, and he gazed up at me, his eyes unwavering and confident. One evening, I found comfort in Scout's soft fur, while quietly reflecting on my feelings. As time continued to pass, the weeks gradually blended together, and gradually I started to sense something awakening within me. A part of myself I hadn't connected with in years. I discovered cherished old books from my past. I started my culinary journey out of pure delight, not due to any obligations. I became a member of a local writing group. Throughout it all, Scout remained nearby, quietly present, offering companionship without expectation. One evening during dinner, Michael glanced up and inquired, "Why have you been spending so much time with the dog lately?" I felt the urge to laugh, to scream, or to express myself, for he truly sees me. But instead, I shared, as it brings a sense of connection to my experiences. His expression hardened, Claire. "He's merely a dog." No, I believed he wasn't. He was the only one who noticed my growing sense of disconnection. That night, I shared my truth with Michael about the void that had settled within me, about how our union had transformed into a collection of courteous conversations, about how Scout illuminated the gaps in my understanding. The dialogue was far from simple. He became quite guarded. He inquired whether I held him responsible. I was not completely. Yet I was requesting him to come and meet me, to make an appearance. His silence lingered warm and inviting, like a tale waiting to be told. It was a reflection of deep consideration that sparked a glimmer of optimism within me. Since that time, our conversations have continued to unfold. Authentic individuals. Some days are better than others, and that's just fine. And each evening, Scout remains by my side of the bed, a loyal companion in the quiet hours. He's a companion with tales to share. He reflects everything around him, a narrative journey, a chronicler of the fragments of my being that had slipped from memory. In cherishing him, I rediscovered the essence of cherishing myself. While the path ahead for my marriage remains uncertain, there is one thing I am certain of. I have decided to take control of my own narrative. I am now fully present, because somewhere along those leaf-strewn trails and coffee-stained mornings, I rediscovered who I truly am. One weekend, Michael decided to join us on our walk. I was taken aback. It had been ages since he last accompanied me, perhaps even years. As we meandered along the path, our steps were hesitant and clumsy at the beginning. Scout lingered close, quiet, observing intently. There was a moment when I shared with Michael the tale of a book that had captured my attention. Not a recap, but rather an exploration of my emotions. He absorbed every word. He inquired with curiosity. In that moment, an emotion washed over me. No flicker. Not at this moment. Yet, a gentle rhythm. A pulse connecting us that had been absent for ages as the sun dipped below the horizon. Michael appeared with a warm cup of tea in hand, not due to my request. For the sake of it, we have our flaws. We are ever changing, yet perhaps we are making an effort. Scout remains by the door as I step out. He still nestles next to me, as I immerse myself in a tale. Yet there are moments when Michael finds himself seated as well. We share a few more chuckles. We share our thoughts more intimately. And in those moments when I sense the pull to fade away, I bring myself back to reality. As time continued to pass, the weeks gradually blended together. I've come to understand that healing whispers softly. Life doesn't always unfold in grand gestures. At times, it's the subtle choice to tie your shoes and tread the familiar road once again. At times, it's about finding the courage to share even when uncertainty lingers in your words. At times, it's the gentle touch of a loyal dog who stayed with you as life moved forward, unaware of your special bond. A scout handed that to me. Each day, I allow myself the freedom to continue on my journey, to continue selecting me. To those who have experienced the weight of being overlooked, I acknowledge your presence, and perhaps, your scout is also anticipating the moment. There was a time when things were different. Once upon a time in the halls of college, Michael and I crossed paths. He exuded a quiet intensity that drew people closer. His confidence and ambition captivating all who listened. I carried a gentler demeanor, more subdued in my expressions. We complemented one another perfectly. At least that was my belief. A few years down the line, we tied the knot. Amidst the beauty of simple white roses, laughter danced in the air, a dance that concluded with us both shedding our shoes. Once upon a time, there was a period filled with joy, truly joyful. We embarked on a journey. Our Sundays unfolded gently, filled with the warmth of pancakes, the rustle of newspapers, and the soothing sounds of jazz weaving through the air. I recall feeling this is the moment. This is the essence of true love. But love, I've come to understand, needs nurturing. And at some point in our journey, we neglected to nourish the foundations. The decline unfolded gradually without any sudden drops. It unfolded slowly, countless fleeting instances where we prioritized ease instead of bonding. In that moment, we chose silence over the possibility of unease, where devices and timetables and obligations occupied the spaces we once shared together. There was a time when visions danced in my mind, little tales to craft a personal narrative, to embark on a journey of discovering the Italian language, to lend a helping hand at an animal shelter. Yet whenever I shared my thoughts, Michael would merely nod, lost in his own world, his attention drifting back to the screen before him. Thus I ceased to bring them up. Eventually, I ceased to envision them entirely until Scout arrived, until the moment he rested his head against my leg, silently affirming my presence in the world. On a drizzly afternoon, I settled into a cozy cafe by the park, jotting down my musings in a notebook, as Scout lounged patiently beneath the table. My own handwriting felt like a stranger to me. It had been quite a while, yet the words flowed forth gradually, and then in a sudden rush. I crafted a narrative about tranquility. Once upon a time there was a vast expanse of nothingness, a canvas waiting for tales to unfold. In this void silence reigned, yet within it lay the potential for countless narratives, each waiting for a voice to bring them to life. The emptiness, though seemingly barren, held the promise of adventures yet to be told, where every whisper of the wind could spark a new beginning. It was a realm where imagination could roam free, crafting stories from the very essence of absence. A tale of a dog who brought warmth to a void I hadn't noticed was echoing within me. Upon returning home that day, I placed the notebook on the counter. So, Michael discovered it. He paused, allowing the silence to linger before responding. Later that evening, he inquired if I could share with him what I had penned down. And so it happened as I concluded. A hush fell over the room. "Do you sense everything that's happening?" he inquired. Each day I declared he gave a slight nod, as if acknowledging an unspoken tale waiting to unfold. I was completely unaware. Perhaps that was the issue at hand. Perhaps it had been ages since we genuinely recognized one another. And thus, our journey commenced anew, not through proclamations or sweeping actions, yet accompanied by inquiries. As the sun rises, the world awakens, and each step taken unfolds a new tale, waiting to be discovered, with a gaze that lingers just a bit more. Caresses that remained in memory, and with Scout forever at the heart of it all. The path ahead remains a mystery to me. However, I am aware of this. I have found my voice once again. My heart has found its way back to openness, and I've decided to take charge of my own journey. Because I have already started my journey of self-preservation. It began with a dog that appeared out of nowhere and decided to make this place its home.